What's up, good people? You know what time it is. It's Generational Wealth Wednesday. I hope everybody's out there doing well. Today, guys, I want to, well, before I begin, I want to put out this disclaimer. I'm not an estate planning attorney, nor do I play one on TV. And any information that I disclose in this video is not intended to be taken as legal advice. I always counsel legal attorneys. Anyhow, I want to make a video about my plastic cup boys. Shout out to the plastic cup boys. I shared a post yesterday about tuning in to listen in on the Straight from the Heart radio show that they do on Sirius XM. And yesterday, they had a segment where Kev decided to allocate a conversation towards, wills and trusts and life insurance and just estate planning in general. And the conversation was onset by a headline where it said that, of course, Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman died without a will. And of course, I had saw the headline myself early in the day, but I didn't click on the article and do, the reading or whatnot. And I just, of course, felt the need to, make the video and put my insurance agent hat on today, especially just after listening to, Kev and the crew express their point of views about life insurance and having wills and stuff in place. I just want to say that the headline, if you're not knowledgeable, the headline could be a little bit misleading because although it's telling you what he didn't have, it's also not telling you what he did have. And what I mean by that is the fact that Chadwick Boseman didn't have any kids. Now, he did have a wife, and of course, he had some assets. Well, the headline, Chadwick Boseman did not have a will, and it would lead you to believe that he didn't do any estate planning or he was negligent, even, considering the fact that he was terminally ill. And I just want you guys to know that the thing that alarmed me when I, did my research, I saw that they had his estate estimated value of $938,500. So a little under $1 million. That alone tells me that he probably did some other estate planning, which means that he put his major assets into a trust. And without going into too much detail, the difference between having a will and having a trust, when you have a will, all the contents that are listed within your will, that's going to be public information. And the will guarantees that you will have to go through a probate process. And usually, a will, if you, for those who have done some extensive estate planning, they may have the assets that don't hold title. So things like, let's say for instance, like a pottery or something that may have sentimental value to you, but it doesn't have a title associated with it. Usually things like that, or just things that you simply forgot to transfer over into the trust or fund the trust. That's the appropriate term. With, it may be you just forgot to transfer it over. So things like that are the things that usually come up, fall under the category of a will. Now, in the case of a trust, all your assets that's within the trust, that's private information. So given the fact of the nature of the movies and the caliber of movies that Chadwick Boseman was involved with, I'm sure, his estate was way more than 938,000. So that tells me that he did some other planning. So don't let the headline, mislead you. I'm sure there was some other thing, and of course, all that'll unfold later on, maybe or may not. But I just want to take that opportunity to just talk about three things that you can do. The first thing I want you guys to do is just know your options, especially when it comes to just life insurance. Of course, the obvious one is just knowing the difference between, the two common insurance types of insurance, which is term and permanent, or what most people consider whole life. Without going into too much detail, of course, term is your cheaper route, and it's exactly what the name implies. It's for a specific term, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And what happened is after that period, you have to reapply. And of course, whole life stays with you your whole life as long as you pay your premiums. But the other option I want to let you guys know about is something called pre-need. Now, pre-need insurance is underwritten by an insurance carrier, but it's pretty much an agreement between you and the funeral home that you would like to handle your burial services in the event of your demise. Now, the thing that I love about pre-need is the fact that pre-need, in most cases, is guaranteed, pretty much guaranteed issue. Not many health questions, things like that. But the other thing that I love about pre-need is the fact that you have a defined term in which you're going to be paying premiums. Like, I know you guys, may be exposed to these final expense insurance commercials or whatnot. But my thing is, even with the final expense policies, you're going to be paying on them, until your demise. Whereas most people, from my experience, being out in the field, sitting across the kitchen table with families, most people, older people especially, their main concern is just making sure that they're not a burden to anybody having to bury them. And I respect that. So if that is your concern, then instead of getting something like a final expense policy, you may want to consider reaching out to your funeral home to see if they offer pre-need policies, because that pre-need policy, you may just have to pay into it for 10 years or 15 years, and once it's paid up, you don't have to make any more payments. So therefore, your funeral is going to be carried out according to your final wishes. So I want you guys to, again, just know your options. So pre-need insurance, if you need to look that up, you need to consider pre-need insurance as well. And that's typically going to be available at your local funeral home. Second thing I want you to do, double check, double check your beneficiaries. There are cases where, let's say for instance, you just started a job, you've been on it, well, not just started, but you've been on the job for 20, 30 years. So when you started the job, you was in a relationship with one person, you might have even been married to one person, and later on, maybe halfway through, you decided to get a divorce, you married a totally different person, right? Well, you're under the impression that maybe because you married someone else, that person, if any event that something happens to you, that new person that you're married to is going to be the person that gets your life insurance proceeds. And that's far from accurate. If you do not update your beneficiary designation on the insurance policy, then you could potentially put the person that you intend to leave a legacy to in jeopardy, but simply because you didn't go back and double check your beneficiary designation. So if you feel like that could be a potential situation of yours, I just encourage you guys to double check your beneficiary designations today or sometime this week. And then the last thing that I encourage you guys to do is just have that conversation with your family and friends. I was thankful, given the fact that I was experienced being out in the field. I knew what type of conversations and things that were happening in their household, so I took it upon myself to have that conversation with my own family. And lo and behold, just so we can get things ironed out, like any event that something happened to one of the parents, who would be in charge of what, et cetera, et cetera. And lo and behold, as you guys know, if you follow me, my dad had a stroke, and I was glad that we had that conversation well before that stroke happened. So I know it's a hard conversation, but one of the things that I say when I'm sitting across the dinner table is that, you just have this conversation with me this one time, and hopefully you'll never have to have this conversation again, other than changing, beneficiary designations or something like that. So have the conversation. I know it's uncomfortable to talk about you potentially not being around in any event of your demise, but at the end of the day, nobody's getting out of life alive. So we all have, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, let's not, ignore having that conversation. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Generational Wealth Wednesday. Peace out.